this ATE Breaks VW Challenge racing action is proudly brought to you by ATE and the club's associated sponsors. We travel inland and hit Delmas for Red Star Raceway, round number 4 of the ATE VW Challenge. It's going to be an interesting one because Red Star does race extremely well, and we've got some comeback tours and comeback drivers coming into the mix. The season has been absolutely stellar so far, and for the first time, we go out into Delmas in the middle of winter to understand what is going to go down in qualifying. Interesting situations were so many drivers understanding how to get the best out of themselves. Aldrich shows us how tight and technical the layout here at Red Star Raceway truly is. On the season, it has been all about Goosen coming on strong, but here at this round, it was the return of Wayne Masters as well. After qualifying, Eric Schultz just giving the rundown to all the competitors, understanding how the day was going to be running, and in particular, the starting order. It was going to be a very interesting day, and everyone just getting their heads around exactly how it was going to go down. All the key players were in the mix. We weren't missing any of the championship runners, so Adriaan was going to be an interesting one to watch out for, and Stewie Mack, always going to be a big threat in the Bs. Goosen was going to have his hands full today. Young blood going up against the master once again. These are results coming out of qualifying where Goosen went fastest ahead of an incredible run from Walker and Cruiser. Masters was there, but he didn't qualify, so he was going to be starting at the back of the pack. In the Bs, it was all going to be Stewie Mack, and in the Cs, interesting situation where we started to see Pillay come on strong at the halfway marker of the tour. So down into the pits before we go racing, we catch up with the big swingers. Bryce Pillay coming off his best qualifier in 2025.
So first P1 of the season, I've been trying at the past 2 races. It went well. The early morning conditions a bit tricky. First session, you just gotta keep calm and build up to it. And luckily we managed to get it on the last lap.
As always in the Bs, we go and catch up with Stewie Mack. Let's see who's got it to go up against him at Red Star.
Everything came together. Just practice yesterday, we try and find the right way to go around here. It's a tough lap to try and get together, but this morning just everything came together. Nice cool conditions, a new set of Dunlops on the front of the car, and just sent it, and it just gave me the lap time. Just I'm surprised as everyone else. So.
And in the Class A's, the kid to beat on the season, Goosen. He's going to have a challenge this time out though.
No, it was quite a good lap. Unfortunately, I spun on the outing. I didn't warm up the tyres enough, but I think on the 3rd or 4th lap I did a 14.2, and then after that I just came in because I knew that was the time to do.
Heading down to get ourselves started and a walk through the pits. Dunlop, a key partner in the tour. Yes, they brought the wet tyres, but everyone was hoping they didn't have to get the wets on for the day. ATS Motorsport in-house doing all the tyre changing throughout the entire event. It was great to see so many cars at the halfway mark of the season in such good shape. The partnerships between everyone involved really coming to the fore. Cruiser looking for a good run of form at this event. Does tend to run good at the tighter layout of the circuit. Davidson was there and all drivers were then getting themselves ready, locked and loaded, helmets on, and getting ready to go into race number 1. It's been an amazing season so far in the ATE VW Challenge. Absolutely sublime conditions as the drivers from the ATE VW Challenge in 2025 rolled out to take on the technical and actually 50-50 track. Everyone thinks it's a super tight track, but you really can stretch the gears and really stretch the brakes as well. A hard braking and a heavy handling circuit. Definitely the Dunlop tires work extra hard out here at this incredible circuit in the middle of Delmas. A little bit of wind on the day as well, especially on the big straights, was going to come into play as everyone went out there to warm themselves up and get everything locked and loaded for the day. The A's would be the first out, followed by the B's and the C's. Locked and loaded onto the track, and you can see that the wind is absolutely howling, coming from the right to the left, blowing straight into pit lane. So all of the drivers would be aware of that, and that would affect some of their turning points as well as their braking points as they go out onto the Delmas circuit. A little bit of a drop off at the bottom end of the track, and that would be a bit of a quiet zone. And as you get higher up, the highest point on the track being right next to pit lane, that is the start-finish stripe, that is going to be the most exposed as far as wind goes. All drivers starting to get themselves ready now, waiting for the flag to drop and move themselves off. A long warm-up lap as well, and some good numbers coming in from classes A, B, and C. Francis Aldrich, he has been the bridesmaid the whole way through the season when compared to Stuart Mack. This time around, he's trying to see what he can do. He basically has to get a jump off the line to try and run with the numbers. When the lights go green, though, it's going to be the A-class. And Goosen didn't get off the line this time around. An incredible run coming in for Walker. Walker has been showing great form in the mid part of the season. So a big story in the Class A's as everyone starts to understand how the track is going to be running. You'll see the A's, B's, and C's are bunched up together at the moment, but eventually we will see the Class A stretch out on board with Aldrich, and he is going to be running some good numbers. It's down this big straight, though, with the highway on the right-hand side. That's the N4, and then into the big braking zones at the bottom end of the track, and then into some super technical sections, hard on the brakes very early on in the lap to understand how the setup on the cars is going to go. Walker running great pace at the moment with Goosen doing the chase down in second spot. And remember, Masters with no qualifying time was out of the blocks in a number 6. So he'll be working hard to get himself through the traffic. Looks like he's already had a very good push on the halfway marker of lap number 1. For now, it looks like Walker is trying to go a little bit defensive. He's going to have to be careful because that's going to really tighten things up. Goosen's going to want to try and get through, but Walker trying to defend extremely hard at the moment. You can see that locking up. And that's going to be a hard turning in point. Pushes it wide, and that is an easy pass for Goosen. Just applied the pressure. Walker, unfortunately, just pushing a little bit too deep into one of those cutback turns. This is on the way back into the pit area. This is a very, very busy track. Lots of cutbacks, triple apexes as we start to see the big fight here for the Class C's. That was a qualifying run from Pillay, but De Beer has already got the red machine up the inside and tried to run the numbers. And a good run here for Mitch Coetzee as well. Coetzee has been coming on strong in the second half of the season. Wonderful onboard shots here from our drone as we see them fly underneath us heading to the end of lap number 1. A very long loop here as well. People often underestimate how long this track is. It is a very long and hard day out in the saddle for the drivers and the tires, especially on the braking markers. You'll see the back ends of these polos start twitching around as the race goes on and the tires start to cry no more. End of lap number 1, though. It is going to be a massive fight between Walker trying to get back that early advantage to come back onto the wheel of Goosen. Lovely layout here. And you can see the outlying areas and how flat the area is around the Delmas area. End of lap number 1, and you start to see the little gaps form between the classes A, B, and C. Stuart Mack, a couple of drivers in front of him. That'll be the tail end of the Class A's. And Mack is going to be pushing on, trying and hang on to the back wheel. That looks like it's going to be Cruiser up the road. It's going to be an interesting fight as we start to see down the straight next to the N4. The gaps start to open up big time as we go into the early part of lap number 2. Remember, we're running classes A, B, and C here. Some good numbers on the page. And Mack with the big B1. He's our reigning overall champion from last season. He's in a big fight this year, though, because the C's have come on strong in the overalls. Aldrich running in second spot, keeping Mack in sight at the moment. But already you can see around about 6 or 7 car lengths trying desperately to find those gears. He had some problems with the gearbox at the last round when we came out of Swartkops. So it looks like those problems are not quite yet resolved as we go back and pick up on the rest of the B class. That's Stuart Koenig. he had a good run of form at Swartkops as well. Very impressive comeback in race number 2. But at the moment, it looks like Stuart Mack is just trying to find his groove, gently getting that pressure and that heat into the tires, and the AutoZone driver is going to be running out front. That's Cruiser. Elna Cruiser, after an incredible run at Swartkops, she's in big trouble at the moment, and she pulls off the racing line. As you can see, the seas in the background pushing each other wide, and that just shows how dusty it is. When that dust comes onto the circuit as well, that's going to cause problems the next time the drivers come around. We did see a shot in the Class A's in the foreground as well. Looks like Wayne Masters has come through from number 6, and by the end of lap number 2, he's going to now be up into the 2 spot, putting pressure onto Goosen. The gap's starting to open up now as the crews start to get their groove going and understand how to get the best out of themselves. Philip Cruiser here. He's had a good run of form, 1 or 2 little blips throughout the season, but starting to find his groove as well as he challenges his way to climb higher up the rankings in the championship and up the field. Remember, out of this round, this is going to take us to the halfway mark of the season before we head down to East London. That is going to be a tricky, high-speed track where a lot of the technique, slipstream, and strategy will come into play. All the A's come through there. Great run of form once again for Stuart Mack. Aldrich is there. There's Cruiser. Cruiser is still running good, in with a shout for the podium, just trying to stay up and ahead of Koenig. And in the seas, look at this fantastic battle coming in for Bryce Pillay and Adriaan de Beer. Remember, Pillay was our fastest qualifier. He had pole position, tried to hang on to the advantage on lap number 1, but on early lap number 1, it was Adriaan de Beer that got the hook, and he's bringing Mitch Garcia, Stuart Koenig, Zafiro, and the rest along for the ride. The Class C battle this season has given us some of our closest racing, and it looks like that's going to be the story of the day once again. Much more evenly matched on the drivers and the vehicles in the Class Cs as they go out there to try and get the best out of themselves, the cars and the tires. De Beer, bright red. Bryce Pillay, our pole man, on the white machine, and it looks like Koenig and Kutsia are starting to tangle and lose the back wheel of the top 2 as that third place battle is going to start picking up. Pillay definitely carries a lot more speed. Another car fading into the background there. We'll try and see who that is and which of the categories, but no doubt it's going to be either one of the A's and B's that was running a little bit higher up the road. We stay with that battle for the lead in the Class C's as Bryce Pillay plies on the pressure onto the back wheel of Adriaan de Beer. De Beer isn't holding anything back here. He's not going defensive. He's running actually wide entry lines, and that's the story of some of the cutback corners that are populating the infield here at Red Star Raceway. Different lines, different braking markers, and that's why we're seeing such incredible back and forth racing. We stay with that Class C battle as in the background. You can see it starting to really pick up. It's a 3-way split as it is all on for the number 3, but the top 2 is where we are understanding how the pace is running in the Class Cs. Pillay and De Beer, and for now, De Beer hangs on to it. Out front, picking up on our leaders, and Goosen still leads in the Class A's, and Masters is on his wheel, but look at that huge gap as we drop back to Walker. That's got to be getting on for 3 seconds already, as 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the A's. Madi Mfana running the best result of the season so far in the early stages of race number 1 out here at Red Star Raceway. A number 4 position, staying ahead of Dean Ross, and a coming back drive coming from Elna Cruiser. Looks like she might just have gearbox problems and starting to come back on the trail and try and climb the ladder. She's going to have to get around a lot of the B-class drivers to get back onto the box. But remember, at this stage of the season, you need those championship points finishes. You need those points on the plate. Class A's though, Masters and Goosen. Class B at the moment, Stewie Mack. And Class C, the big fight between Pillay and De Beer. We focus back in on Stewie Mack as he starts to stretch his legs out there, already pulling at least 5 seconds out of his closest competitors. Stewie Mack is going to be in competition on the season with Aldrich, but we go back and pick up on our Class A's. Remember, in the early part of the season, Goosen and Masters were very evenly matched out at Kyalami. And it's a similar style of driving when you come into the technical and high-speed 50-50 mixture out here at Red Star Raceway. At the moment, Masters has come through, and a late braking issue there. Looks like just missed his braking marker, lost the front end. Goosen is out of that one, and an easy run-through for Masters to take it on. Just out-brakes himself, basically. Just pushes on. That was interesting. It looked like he might have been able to stay on the tarmac there, but I think he had a big lockup. and then hit a neutral as well, and that what pushed him out. He should be able to survive in a number 2 spot, but that's going to give an easy victory if he can stay out there, but a massive lead anyway over the halfway marker for Wayne Masters in his comeback race. Goosen, though, second place will be enough to keep him in the lead of the Class A Championship, but it just shows you how easily you can make those mistakes out here at Red Star Raceway. The dust and the wind are becoming a factor as the track is getting a little bit dirty and a little bit greasy over the halfway marker of heat number 1 out here at Red Star Raceway. Good numbers coming in from all of our categories in Class A, B and C. Elna Cruiser is fighting back. We'll pick up on her a little bit later on as we start to enjoy the show as everyone else starts to feed their way through the lineup. Staying with the A's, and great to see another battle coming into play here. Mfana and Ross all over each other. That is the battle for 4 and 5, as Cruiser will no doubt join the party a little bit later on. This is our early race leader, Walker, trying to get himself up there. He's in a distant 3rd spot, also showing us how much smoke you can tear off the back end of those Dunlop tires late on the entry there, and did lift up the back tire. This is 1, 2 and 3 on the big straight, trying to get themselves back up and running. You can hear on board there that Masters is no problem for him in the wind, but the wind is absolutely howling, and that's why we're seeing these light cars have some problems out there on the course. Picking up on the C-Class battle, where once again Adriaan de Beer and Pelé are elbows up all over each other. They've managed to get themselves away from the chasing pack of Coetzee, Koenig, Zafiro, and the rest of the pack. This is very much a 2-horse race out front as these guys are battling. It was very, very close in the qualifying run, and Pelé just cannot seem to find a way past on de Beer. Very, very good defensive lines and enough pull and a good setup on the car to be able to stretch his legs outside of all the corners. In the background there, you can see the 3rd place battle. Koenig has come through in the 3 spot, so that's going to be a change for number 3 between himself and Coetzee. Can always pick up on Koenig on that grey colors, and Mitch Coetzee does have flashes of purple in the car, so they flash across the screen. That's going to be a battle to watch out for, but 1 and 2 are absolutely putting on a show for us. De Beer absorbing the pressure and starting to actually extend in some sections of the track to stay ahead of the hard-charging 73, the bright white machine of Bryce Pelé. By this stage, the drivers will know they're in a race. One of the most exhausting circuits that we race at. The drivers will often get out of the cars absolutely hanging. Really hard work on the body to manage these cars around the technical Red Star Raceway. On top of that, though, one of our B-Class racers, Chris Davidson, who is a top runner in the championship, is out there battling with an injured shoulder. So you can imagine how his day is going. He'll be hurting big time out there on the most physically demanding track of the season. Remember, after Red Star, we go down to East London, the big show, one of the fastest tracks of the season down at the coast. Out front, no fight back coming in for Goosen. It looks like the damage has been done by himself, unfortunately, pushing the front a little bit too far while he was trying to manage and get back on point to stay ahead of Masters. Masters was able to slide on through. He's up the road in the distance as we go on board with Jaden Goosen, the man who is leading in the championship. But out here at Red Star Raceway, one tiny mistake, one error, dropping him down into 2nd spot. But he is well clear of Ian Walker, so he should be comfortable in that number 2 spot to take it all the way to the flag. Same situation with Stewie Mack. He was able to just keep the guys in his rearview mirrors in the early stages of the race, but throughout the race started to extend, pulling tenths out of the rest of the drivers. Elna Cruiser managed to get herself back on point and into a recovery zone. Just saw in the background there, Aldrich, he was still running in the 2nd spot, but a distant 2nd spot as we go back and pick up on the battle in the seas. Pelé finally getting himself in front. It looked like he was just waiting for his moment. Maybe a small mistake for de Beer, but you see Pelé was also starting to make mistakes. This is going to be a strategy situation. That is not the line to come up that road, by the way, on the track. That is a defensive line just moving out to be able to get the good sweep going into the braking markers. But for now, it's Pelé ahead of de Beer. Remember, de Beer is running the numbers at the moment in the Class C and in the overall championship, so he doesn't really want to make too many mistakes. 2nd place will be a good finish, but it does look like on the season, Pelé is building momentum and coming on strong. He was a revelation earlier this year out at Kailami. He's had 1 or 2 little bogey races, but he is looking absolutely on point out here at Red Star Raceway. The very good run of form in 2025, and as you can see, they are the class of the field so far in the Class Cs. It's incredible to see that they've actually got themselves far enough away to not have a problem coming on for third spot. Normally in motorsport racing, when they're tangling that tight, they may slow each other down, but they seem to be working well. No issues once again for Stewie Mack, as he's literally putting on a masterclass, pulling almost 10 seconds by this stage of the race out of the chasing Francis Aldrich. Aldrich, once again, you can see why that gap is so big. The consistent problems that he's had in the gearbox from Swartkops continue to be a problem, and he may be in trouble here as well, because the rest of the pack are coming through. There's Cruiser on the comeback trail. So Aldrich in big trouble here. He desperately needs these points on the plate. He does the gentlemanly thing though, and peels out of the track. That's a big problem in the championship. And that will move Jonathan Koenig up into second spot. Big change in the Class C's battle as well for the number 3 spot. Mitch Coetzee has come through on Stuart Koenig and got himself away from Zafiro. And you can see how hard these cars are working now, really pushing the pace. Great shots coming in from our crew out there, showing us how much these cars have to dive into the corners. A lot of these guys do soften up the suspension a little bit for these technical tracks, but the battle is not over. That's Stuart Koenig. He lost that third place by one small mistake, and he's trying to get it back. There goes Bryce Pillay and De Beer. This is the battle we keep an eye on coming up the straight. This is Coetzee and Koenig, and in the background, Zafiro. It looked like Justin Gower just tasting the dust on the outside of the turn there, trying to desperately stay on track. Koenig doesn't want to give this one up. He's on the fight back trail as well, trying to nail down a top 3 in the championship. Pillay and De Beer. This has been the most spectacular bit of racing we have seen, especially throughout this incredible day at Red Star Raceway. But Pillay does look like he is managing a 2, possibly 3 car length lead. I think De Beer may have burnt his tires too early on, and he's going to have to do it all on the brakes. It's a good run of form though from Pillay and De Beer, and you can see on this shot as they come into turn number 1 as we run the anti-clockwise layout of the track in the background. That's the third spot, the purple flashes of Coetzee as he's maintaining around about a 1.5 to 2 second gap ahead of Koenig. So out there onto the big run, and that is going to be another push to the line. No issues for Wayne Masters though, as he starts to make his way to the flag, coming through a little bit of lap traffic and enjoying his time out there. A part-time racer and runner in the championship, remember? So he comes back into the mix. He's going to dominate Class A and take the overall flag as he comes through some of the slower traffic in the B's and C's. But it's been a masterclass once again for Wayne Masters, as he had to follow the back wheel of Curson for a little while. But when he saw the gap, he took it. And he's the first man to see the checkers at race number 1 out here at Red Star Raceway. No issues for Stewie Mack, but the big story is what happened in the second place situation, where we saw Aldrich had to pull to the sideline, eventually going to get a number 4 finish, but that will give Koenig the number 2 spot and Chris Davidson the number 3. In the Class C's though, the battle that we've been keeping an eye on, Pillay, round about the half race distance, managed to make the pass on Adriaan De Beer, and desperate to just get through the last 2 or 3 corners and take it all the way to the flag. If this is how things look in race number 1, race number 2 is going to be an absolute nail biter. No pass on the cards there, round about halfway down the straight, where you click just touching 4th gear. Pillay, just good enough to take the win in Class C's and hold off a hard-charging De Beer. Great racing in all of our categories. But a big story is a lot of cars having to park on the sideline and a change up in the championship. That was Francis Aldrich, and that means that is going to change up the number 2 in the Class B's. Let's go through the numbers then. Class A going to Masters ahead of Curson and Walker. Class B's was Mack ahead of Jonathan Koenig and Davidson. And C's, we saw that big battle between Pillay, De Beer and Coetzee. A good run to get his number 3 finish in heat number 1. And after the race, and he put on the show for us. The Class C win goes to Pillay. We chat to him.
It was a good, bad launch, and then I had to work 4 hard laps to get past him, and then he was literally millimeters the entire race. I think 23 minutes of just out and out, like hard racing and clean racing. What a race. And I have to give him his props, because he really kept me on my toes.
And telling us the story of his day so far, the winner once again in Class B's, Stuart Mac Attack Mac.
I know it looked easy from the outside, but it's hard work in that car. It doesn't drive itself around. We've got to keep pushing every single lap to try to do the best we can. But yeah, happy with the win.
And in his return to the ATE VW Challenge, Masters back on top.
But yeah, no, we had a good race. The first 2 laps were great because we were nicely bunched up. And then once we got through Dean and Elna and Maidi and Ian, caught up to Jaden, and then it was learning. I'm learning the track because the car didn't want to run this morning, so we didn't do quali. But then I had to learn the track as while I was chasing him, and then he made a mistake, fell off the track, and then he's on my own. But it was a great race, great win. Thank you.
With the 4th round of the ATE VW Challenge landing smack bang in the middle of winter, a charity blanket drive took place with great success out here at the track.
During the winter, the club likes to do a charity drive, and we like to support the unfortunate, people who can't afford blankets obviously. So I approach some of our sponsors, our drivers, and they all give us some funds, and I get blankets which we distribute to charities. This year we've had ATE and a couple of private sponsors, some of the drivers, as well as Norbrake and Paybar. They've all contributed. We've now collected 20,000 Rand, so we have quite a number of blankets. ATE will be distributing to some of their charities, or one of their charities, and then we have a couple of other smaller charities which we will be distributing to. We'll be sharing it out. We won't be going to one charity.
And well done to all of those involved in the charity blanket drive. So all the drivers coming in from the ATE VW Challenge, heat number 1 of racing at Red Star Raceway, would have to do it all over again as we look forward to heat racing number 2. Race number 1 was spectacular, and we're expecting more of the same going forward into the second and final race of the day for the ATE VW Challenge here at Red Star, round number 4 of the Championship Racing Series. The big story was going to be who could get the big pull off the line, because we know as the wind comes up and the temperature starts to drop out at Delmas, it gets very dusty and very slippery out here on the circuit. As always, it's going to be a staggered grid with the A's going off first, closely followed by the B's and the C's. Normally, we'll see all of the categories running very close together, certainly laps 1 and 2. And as the race goes on, you'll start to see those gaps grow and grow and grow. Once again, Masters will be starting at the back of the front bunch of the A's. Lights red and lights go out. Big smoke of the tyres there on the left-hand side there. That looks like Gerson fluffed his lines, and he has. So Gerson not getting the pull, and that's a dirty bit of the circuit right close to the pit lane, and that means he's going to have to slot down into a number 2 spot. So once again, the whole shot king, certainly in the second half of the season, is Walker in the Class A's. B's and C's will all follow suit. Everyone will be closely bunched here in the early stages of the race until we start to see those gaps grow and build. You can see the day running a little bit late out here, so we know that vision and sun and the dropping sun is going to be an issue. In the A's then, Walker once again rock and roll start to get the job done. And incredible to see Ross running good pace there as well. So Ross in a number 3 spot as we go back and pick up on the man running in the 2 spot in the Class B's, Francis Aldrich. Remember, he had issues in race number 1. It turned out not to be a gearbox problem, but a clutch issue which held him back. So this is going to be an interesting situation where we start to see the B's all over each other. That's also Koenig in the mix there. So Jonathan Koenig getting a really good run in the early stages. So a nice 3-way split in the Class B battle as we start to see all of a sudden a small chink in the armor for Mac. Didn't get the pull off the line that he wanted to, but Koenig, some creative lines as we like to say in motorsport racing. But Aldrich, remember, he's trying to run and defend that number 2 spot in the championship, and Koenig is really aggressive on those inside lines, but won't be carrying enough speed out onto the straights. And very quickly you can see that Mac able to just carry a slightly wider line, stayed out of trouble, stayed out of the way, and will be able to run through to take the lead in the Class B's. Meanwhile, out front though, you can see that Walker is already starting to go defensive. As we said in race number 1, the Red Star Raceway, the style of driving in this infield section is you've got to link these corners really nicely. If you're covering the inside lines, it's going to slow the pace down. Already, Masters has come through into third place, dropping Ross now down into a three-way dice between himself and Fania and Cruiser. That's going to be the battle for the number 4 spot in the Class A's, and you can start to see those gaps forming up now. 1, 2, and 3 are going. Masters is going to take maybe a lap and a half to join the party out front. There is our leaders in the Class Bs, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, all still very close together. And the Cs will also be on that freight train as well. You won't see that gap open up between the Bs and Cs until the next lap and a half or so. But at the moment, no issues on lap number 1. Everyone is through clean and clear at the end of the first lap of heat number 2. Out here at Red Star, round number 4 of the ATE VW Challenge. Walker, once again, covering that line. Masters is coming on strong. There's Ross. He's defending that number 4 spot at the moment. There goes Mac. And Mac is going to be an interesting one to watch out for. And Aldrich, keep an eye on the man in second place in the Bs. He has had problems in the last couple of races and the last couple of rounds with that gearbox and that clutch issue. So he'll be praying that that car is going to hold together because he is desperate for those points on the plate and points in the championship. Mac, incredibly enough, at this stage of the game, not too far off the back wheel of the back end of the last runners in the A-Class. Mac is on an absolute burner. We'll check about his car a little bit later on, but right now we follow the Mac attack as he runs the numbers. Remember, he is not the overall leader. He was the championship leader coming out of last season's championship, but this year it's going to be an interesting situation. We may yet see a Class C runner be able to get the job done. But let's look at this car for a second here. Mac is running the turbo, and that's why we see, certainly up here on the Highveld, he does have a power advantage on that vehicle, and he should be able to start stretching his legs. Out front, though, in the Class A's, you can see this is slowing the pace down. Those defensive lines that Walker has been running all day long is slowing the pace down and allowing Masters to come and join the party. Goosen is going to have to really hold himself back here. A little bit of patience is going to have to be the story of his day if he wants to survive out there. Meanwhile, in the Bs, no issues for Mac. Aldrich is in second place, but he's still got a lot of competition coming in there. You've got a whole pile of drivers with Koenig and Davidson in close attendance, and at the back of that, you'll start to pick up on that red car. That's De Beer and Pillay. That is going to be the in-house battle as always, and also Kutsia does run good numbers out here at this track. Justin Gower on the 33 also starting to make waves at this track. Seems to be a bit of a Red Star specialist. Mac, though, in the AutoZone Polo, running the numbers, first in the Bs and inside the top 10 in the overalls at the moment, and running good pace in the championship. At this stage of the game, running second in the championship overall as we head and look to the second half of the season. Remember, after this, it's a long trip down to the coast as we hit coastline, and you cannot get more coastal than East London. Almost racing on the beach down there at the Windy City. Lap number 3, and still good numbers coming in for Walker, but you can see that Goosen wants to get through. In his mirrors, he is not in a good position because Masters is coming on. This is now going to be a 3-way split the rest of this race, and Walker is doing a good job of work here. There is nothing slow about that car, and he has got really good lines. The only thing is he's going defensive in almost every single hard braking zone, and that is allowing Masters to really come up to the bumper. So that is causing all kinds of problems for Goosen. Ross is there, Mafana and Cruiser. So 3 cars running 1, 2, and 3. 3 cars running 4, 5, and 6. So some good in-house battles. We haven't seen that big gap being pulled in the Class A's, but what we are starting to see now is Masters coming into the mix here. And remember, Masters is the most experienced driver on this category. So it's going to be fun to see if he's going to sit and wait, or if he's just going to apply the pressure and allow the 2 younger drivers in front of him to make all the mistakes. Mac, all kinds of loose as he flicks the back end of the AutoZone vehicle in. Aldrich is going with him, and the top 2 drivers in the Bs have started to extend themselves away. Jonathan Koenig has had a good run though. He's sitting ahead of Davidson, and he's in a no man's land at the moment. He is in actually a very good space to stay ahead of all of the trouble, because we do start seeing tire issues coming into play as the temperature starts to drop off, and you can visibly see how dirty the circuit is offline. Philip Cruiser there as well, trying to get himself into a top 5 position, as out front you can start seeing the situation coming into play. We saw this coming around about half a lap ago. Goosen is in his mirrors the whole time. You can see he's already looking to the left-hand side, trying to see where Wayne Masters is going to come through. Wayne's going to take his time on this one, but you can see that Walker does not get as much drive out of the corners as Goosen can. Goosen is doing a very good job here not to just do the old taparoo, because it would be a black flag situation if he sent Walker out to the sidelines with a good shunt. That would also be Goosen out of the race and out of the championship. So this is an exercise in patience for all drivers concerned. For Walker, he's got the high ground. He can run the numbers inside there, but you can see the whole layout of Red Star Raceway, especially on the infield, inside becomes outside, and Walker is under huge pressure. It's incredible to see a race come like this. Probably our best Class A race of the season so far in the ATE VW Challenge racing action. And you can see Masters is getting good run there as well. He could probably take out most of these guys on the track, but he is absolutely flying and having to measure all of his moves. Walker at the moment doing a good enough job to put at least a car and a half length between him and, in the background there you can see a massive blow up, and we know that car, that's Zafiro. So one of our runners in the Class C's, Zafiro, that engine has said good night and sayonara, and that may be bringing out the safety car, because that was an on-circuit blow up, so there's going to be oil down there. And it does look like the safety car has been called. So that's going to nullify the race ever so slightly. So that is going to allow Walker to live on a little bit longer. And for the Class Bs, it's going to allow Aldrich, Koenig, and Davidson to join the party in the B battle. So Zafiro is the car out there with the problem. That's the Class C battle, as we've got some great drone shots coming in. And that's going to be one. It's going to be Pelé, Koenig, Kutsia, and De Beer. They're all over each other in the C's at the moment. But that blow up is going to cause a major issue at the halfway marker of this race and allow everything to be nullified. And for us, that's great, because that brings the action right back on point and allows a little bit of respite. So the Suzuki safety car comes on circuit under full yellows. Everyone will bunch back up, and it's as if we have started racing once again. So a very rare situation to see these engines blow up like that. So under safety, we wait for everyone to bunch up. The car gets towed off the circuit, so that is a confirmation. It is Zafiro in the Class C's, and then back under racing conditions now that the course has been sorted out. But there will be some greasy sections out there, and the flags will be waving, telling all the drivers to watch out and be aware. Goosen still running in the number 2 spot, and for now, Walker still remains our race leader. Down one of the straights and straight into the sun, so vision is going to become a key issue here as well. Some of the shadows get thrown. You can see how low the sun is, that shadow going all the way across to the left hand side. Davison and Goosen in good nick there, and then this is the big battle that we'll keep an eye on for the championship and for the overalls as well, as Pelé and De Beer go at it. Davison is in the mix there as well. He's had a good run of form. He is down in the Class Bs, but remember, he is out there with a broken shoulder, so he's going to be really feeling the problems in heat number 2. He'll have actually caught a little bit of a breath there. Big lockup for Pelé, but Davison, just to finish my thought, would have caught a bit of a breath there. The safety car situation would have helped him out big time. But this is the battle for the lead in the Class Cs. As you can see, the dust flying in the background there. People are starting to make mistakes here. They probably lost a lot of temperature in those Dunlop tires during the slow laps under safety, and it's going to take a little while to get that perfect adhesion going once again. For now, De Beer sitting on the back wheel of Pelé. Pelé really has a good setup out here at the Red Star Raceway, and he's going to be a driver to watch out for the second half of the season. The Class C battle still keeping us on our toes, and throughout the season it's been some spectacular racing on every single one of the circuits we have been out to. De Beer looked like he didn't quite get the jump off of the restart, but he has rejoined the party. No catching up to this man though. Look at this. There's a great story where you see Stuart Mack still able to run on the back wheel of the top 5 or 6 or so of the cars running in the Class A's. That's Mfania that he's coming off on the back wheel of. You can see the dust absolutely getting flicked up. A lot of the drivers finding the edges of the circuit. It's a very thin track here. Originally, the Red Star Raceway circuit made for purely motorcycle racing, and in the last 5 or 6 years, big issue there. And that is a story, because that is the man man that was running second place in the Class C's. That's Adriaan de Beer. We go back on board and pick up on, I think it's Gower. Gower's going to show us exactly what went down there. He comes into one of the hard braking zones, and as Gower goes into his braking area, he doesn't know which way to go, left or right, because there is chaos happening in front of him. A couple of cars spinning, and he has to go and find the dirt. So that is why we start seeing a little bit of dirt flying up. That looks like Cruiser off in the background there as well. So Cruiser was involved and had to go onto the grass track as well. But the story there is the red car of De Beer, the number 11, dropping down outside of the top 5 in the Class C's, and that's going to hurt his championship challenge. Thanks to our onboard cameraman, Justin Gower, and well done for him for dodging the bullet out there. All of the drivers will be battling with the dropping sun now, and also those slippery conditions as the dust starts to kick up and flick up. After replay, we go back into the racing where you can see 1, 2, and 3. Once again, Walker, Goosen, and Masters. But we just saw in the background there that Ross and Cruiser had started to make a gap. That was the battle for 4th place to stay ahead of Umfana. 1, 2, and 3 still running the numbers, and this is the most exciting racing we have seen so far in the Class A's for the ATE VW Challenge in 2025. Goosen so good and deep on the brakes. Looks like he has got the choice of lines, but remember, the inside line and the higher ground, as we say, is covered by Walker. There's Ross, he's doing a great job. This is the best drive we've seen out of the Norbrake driver at the moment. And Cruiser, remember, she walked away with her best result at the previous event, getting a solid number 3. That was her highest finish in the championship so far. But no way through, and still no way through for Goosen and Masters, as Walker is starting to stare at that lap board, praying that the race can be wrapped up early so he can walk away with his first victory of the season. No way through in the 4th place battle for Cruiser at the moment, as once again they spread out into the braking marker at the top end of the straight. Once again, another big lockup, and Masters trying to go the long way round. This will be an ambitious move, but he is getting frustrated. A right hand becomes a left hand. We go on board with Goosen. Perfect timing for the cut, and inside line there, that's going to be Masters. But remember, if Goosen can tough it out on the curbs and on the grass, the outside becomes the inside once again, and this will be a very long way round. Remember, this move started from Masters around about 3 corners back, and Goosen is still going to control, but these inside and outsides switch to left and right, just never continue, and it is going to be an eventual pass. This is now the final turn we're heading into, going on to the start-finish straight, and that is eventually the move made by Masters. And that was a very experienced move. He had to be patient, a little bit of touching of the doors, but you will notice that both cars still have both their wing mirrors on. That gave a nice little buffer there to Walker, but I think now his time is coming, because Masters has been running patiently, but now he's going to get all the way up there. Great battle going forward into the Class C's here, because with that situation with De Beer, that's moved Coetzee and Koenig moving up the ranks. So this is going to be a battle for the top 3s as well. Pillay is going to have a really good run there. In the background, you did see a flash of red, which means De Beer is on recovery. But at the moment, a great situation. We'll see Coetzee and Koenig battling for the number 2 spot. There's Davison in the background, Pillay in the foreground. Remember, Pillay is our leader in the Class C's. This is going to be Davison running around about 4th or 5th place in the Class B's. And this is the battle for 2nd place in the C's, where Koenig sends it up the inside. That is a massively brave move. And that is a place only for the brave, as they say, to sling it up the inside. So Coetzee, I think, got caught napping there a little bit as Stuart Koenig takes his grey machine up into a number 2 spot. On board now with Goosen as he sits in 3rd place. Remember, he's going to hope that Masters can make a line for him to come through. Goosen has not finished outside the top 2 for the majority of the season, so he will not want to settle for a 3rd place. Even though Masters is out of the championship, he is in a position that he can rob valuable points, and there's the mistake. Walker misses his braking marker, the one and only mistake he has really made on the day, and that's going to be him dropping down into 3rd place. That allows Goosen to come through into the 2nd spot, so we may yet still have a good fight on our hands. Masters will be able to control the lines. He won't go defensive. He'll actually put himself in a position where he can flow around the track, clipping those insides absolutely perfectly. This is a battle that we're going to pick up on the C's. Mitch Coetzee remains in the 3rd spot, and a massive fight back coming in from Adriaan de Beer in the Class C's, not counting Pillay, who's our runner race streaking leader. De Beer is running 2nd fastest lap times at the moment. so we may yet see that fight come into play. It looks like Coetzee is going to settle for the number 3 spot at the moment because he has got a big buffer. I don't think De Beer has got enough laps in hand to catch him up. So this is going to be a nice fight back for Coetzee as we go back and pick up on our runaway race leader in the Bs. Not too far ahead of Aldrich this time, so it looks like he may have held a little bit of something back. And looks like Davison is going to get mixed up in the battle here. Remember Davison in the white and red car there, running in the B category, as Koenig is going to get through. And if he can make that pass nice and early, may be able to put himself between the chasers. But Coetzee and Koenig keeping things nice and tight and interesting for us. Back on board with our race runners. This is second place in the Class A, second place overall. And Goosen, his whole approach to racing is very, very deep on the brakes, and he does carry a lot of mid-corner speed, but a little too late, unfortunately. A great situation where we see Masters come through and take the checkered flag with Goosen in a number 2 spot and a hard-fought number 3 spot, and the best race we have seen on the season coming out of Walker. Cruiser looks like she's going to walk away with the number 4 spot, and she beats out and wins out that battle that she had all day long and all race long, and that was with Ross. Ross is going to get credited with the number 4 beating out on Mfanya. And then in the background there, you can see the win once again going to Stuart Mack, but a good fight back from 168. Francis Aldrich was closer than he has been in a long time, getting the number 2 spot. A runaway win this time around for Bryce Pillay, and he celebrates in style. The big wag of the polo all the way down the finishing stripe, and the entire start-finish straight is the lead and advantage he has over an ecstatic Stuart Koenig, his highest finish of the season, as he gets the number 2 spot. Mitch Coetzee in third, only just hanging on to a big fight back coming in from De Beer. Let's get a confirmation then. Masters takes the win in A's ahead of Goosen and Walker. Mack ahead of Aldrich, and a great drive from Jonathan Koenig. And Pillay ahead of Koenig and Coetzee, and a fight back for De Beer taking 4th in the C's. After what will go down as his best drive of the season, we chat to Walker after race number 2.
So I got another cracker start. Jaden pressed me for the first 3-4 laps till the safety car, and I knew he had a little bit more pace than me and Wayne, but I was just going to block like a demon, you know. I wanted to stay in front, and then got the jump on them a little bit off the safety car, and then I messed up and locked up into the tight hairpin, and both of them got through. But geez, what a race. It was really fun.
In the Class C's, Adriaan De Beer is going to remember this day for quite a while. We chatted to him after race 2.
Yeah, unfortunately I thought that me and Bryce will have a nice fight to the end, but maybe I should have heated up the tires a bit more. But lost it there. It's my favorite corner, and I actually lost it there. And I thought, well, what about a good fight back? Quite fast, but I only could manage a 4th, and we ran out of laps. But enjoyed it. Very nice racing today.
One of the biggest incidents of the afternoon race, and we chatted to our onboard cameraman, Justy Gower from Class C.
That was good. Had a close call with Philip. Stuck on him the whole time, and then we were so close together. After the restarts, I just saw Adriaan, 3 cars splitting, and then Adriaan De Beer facing me. So almost lost it sideways, took him out further, went onto the grass, went the long way around, and then had to continue my battle with Philip. Just couldn't capitalize.
After issues in race 1, a good fight back in race number 2 for the Class B runner, Francis Aldrich.
Class B was good. So the second race for me went much better. Race number 1, I popped the clutch, so we had to fix that, but good mechanic work. I was back on track, and the second race went smoothly. The sun's a bit in your eyes in the afternoon, so a few corners were tough. But we had a solid race. I'm very happy with how the day then finished, considering. And we'll see you guys out there next time in East London.
Yes, indeed, and coming out of round number 4, up on the Highveld, De Beer still leads by 4 points ahead of Mack. Pillay has now moved up in the championship to a 3 spot ahead of Coetzee and Koenig. Goosen in a number 6. Next up on the cards, we go from the Highveld down all the way to sea level. It is going to be right on the coastline. East London, round number 5 for the ATE VW Challenge comes up next. All this ATE Brakes VW Challenge racing action is proudly brought to you by ATE and the club's associated sponsors.